Okay, we're going to pick up where we left off last time with this piece here. So today what we need to do is start blocking in some color. Okay. Now the thing is with this, I want to keep the foreground figures and the background figures separate. That's why, if you'll notice over here in the layers palette, I have the inks for the foreground figures and the inks behind them, the background figures. Okay, that's because I'm going to keep the whole thing pretty much separate. Okay, so let's go ahead and click onto our pencils layer and then click again down here, new layer, and let's make this background color. Okay, and that is going to be our color for the background. And what we're going to do here, I think what I want to do is put in some real basic stuff. So I'm going to pick a dark blue here, and I'm clicking. Okay, I picked a dark blue, and I'm switching the colors around, and I'm going to pick a slightly lighter slate blue. Okay, and then let's zoom out a little bit. What we're going to do is use the gradient tool, and let's pick our gradient here that we want. Circular rainbow, I don't want that. Go ahead and click on this. Okay. This is our gradient editor. Okay, this is going to allow us to customize our gradients. Okay, so I've got my one color blue here, my other color of blue there. This thing I want to delete because I don't really want that that in there. I think I might do this. I'm going to add another one here, but let's go ahead and make this color the darker color. So we got a little variation going on there. Yeah, I think that'll probably work pretty good, because what I'm going to do is I want just a basic color in here. Then I'm going to paint lighter the color of this character here. Okay, so once we got that all set, now let's see which way we want to go. Let's try it cross like that. Yeah, that'll probably work. That's going to be good enough for now. Or actually, let's try that. I think it was better going that way. You can just play around with this until you get the gradient where you want it. It's pretty easy to do. There, something like that'll probably work. And I may go back in with a little more of that lighter color. You know, let's just do that right now. Let's go ahead and grab a paintbrush. The lighter color is already in the foreground. Let's just put a nice soft round but fairly large brush. A little too large there. Yeah, something like that. Okay, let's switch back to that. And let's see. There, little sort of tenderly thing going on. Actually, let's do there. So what I'm doing is I'm giving a little bit of randomness to the gradient. Something like that, maybe. Okay, that'll work. All right, probably looks a little goofy right now. Remember, this is just the background color. All right, now what I need to do is start blocking in some color for the figure. Now the thing is, for now, I don't really want to blend the color from this for this figure into the background color. So I'm going to put that on a separate layer too. So let's create another layer here. And I'll go this background figure color. Okay. And with this guy, what I'm going to do is just pick a lighter, sort of a slate blue, and maybe a little white here and there. I don't want him to be in full color. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use my pencil tool to block in color. Okay. So now if you're not familiar with the pencil tool, what it does is it puts in kind of blocky, chunky color. But what you do is you use this for just putting in blocks of color. Once the color is set, then you go back in and sort of fix it up with your paintbrush tool. Now let's see. Actually, I'm going to do the whole face this sort of color. The beard on this character, he's of course a villain, is going to be kind of a black. So I'm just drawing around just bigger basic areas that are going to be a lighter color. Let's see. What this does too, the pencil tool, it allows you to just drop in color like that, and there's no fuzzy lines. Here, let me show you what happens if I had used if I use a paintbrush to try and block color. Let's get our hard round small size brush, and let's say I'm going to do start with this, do some of this hand. Let's just pick a fingernail. All right, so I made a basic shape there. I drop in the color, and you can see here, because it is a paintbrush, see the little lines there? There's a little feathering line, okay? You don't want that, okay? So let's go back here and get that out of there. History palette is your best friend when doing this kind of thing. Okay, and while we have this color still selected, let's go ahead and put in the block in the color for the hand. I haven't decided what color I'm going to do the fingernails in yet, but that's a nice thing about when you are creating your own characters. You can pretty much do what you want. This character here that I'm drawing in, that I've drawn in, that I'm coloring in, I should say, not drawing in, coloring in, is a mythic character from Etruscan mythology. And the main character here, this guy, is an Etruscan. That's the idea for the comic. The character in the background here is a mythic character who basically represents death. His name is Charon. Not Charon with an O, but Charon with a U. And unlike the Greek mythology figure of Charon, who is the boatman at the river Styx, this guy was a much more active active figure. If you see in movies and stuff like that, Clash of the Titans, both versions, the classic and the new version, which I don't care for. you see Charon as this, he's the skeletal boatman at the river Styx, and he just, you give him a coin and he ferries you across. In Etruscan mythology, now these, just so you know, these guidelines are making my brush kind of snap too. What I'm probably going to do, I can fix this fairly easily. I'm not going to bother right now. I'll clean up these lines a little bit. And actually, this figure is the color is going to be in front of. So if I have a little color bleeding over, it's not going to hurt anything. It'll be covered up anyway. That's the nice thing about working in layers. Anyway, back to the whole thing about Charon versus Charon. This guy, yeah, much more active. What his shtick was is he would travel the world and strike people dead with a hammer. Fun guy. All right. Before I do anything more, what I need to do is get rid of these lines. I can either selectively kind of zip them out like that, or I can just go up to View and then down to Guides and Clear Guides. Okay. Now that those are out of the way, I can always bring them back if I want to. Now that those are out of the way, I don't have to worry about my brush snapping too and that kind of thing. So let's go ahead and clean up some of these edges here. That's a pretty quick fix. Your eraser tool is right here. Okay. A lot of times what I do though, because I'm using a stylus, all I do is I flip over my stylus to the back side. Whoops. Flip it over to the back side and just erase that way. So if you see me in any of these videos start to erase something, but you don't see me go over to select the eraser, that's the reason why. I've just flipped my stylus over to the eraser side and doing it that way. Okay, there's the basic color there for basic skin color. Let's go ahead and put in a little bit of skin color for his ear. His hair is black, so there's going to be quite a lot of black here, but I'm going to be blending that in with the rest of the background. Drop that in. Let's pick a nice little bit of gold for his earring. Actually, that would probably work best. Let's see, how big is our pencil? That's a little big right now for something that small, so we'll just make that a touch smaller. And there's a little bit there. His eyes are going to be glowing red. It's going to be kind of one of the focal points here. So the way that pops against that blue. I'm probably going to have to desaturate this whole thing a little bit when I'm done. It depends on how it looks when it is CMYK. Right now, this is RGB. You can see RGB right up there. But if you do what I do and stuff is going to eventually come out in print, that has to be CMYK. Okay, so, and CMYK will dull the colors quite a bit. Wow, that really stands out. That's crazy. Yeah, I might have to tone that down a little bit against the blue. That's wild, man. All right, let's give him some tooth color. I think kind of a maybe not quite that dark of a yellow. How to do it. Zoom in a little closer here. Now, here's the thing. I don't have to be super careful with my line work here. It's going to get blended eventually. I'm just blocking it in, blocking in the color. There, kind of a gnarly yellow teeth. Let's see. Let's go ahead and I don't know if I want to have it be all the way black. So let's just pick a really dark gray and Okay, that gray looks almost brown against this blue, so I'm going to adjust that. Let's take this gray here and put it in the blue range and move it over this way just a little bit so um, it's a gray with an almost blue tint. Let's just go over top of that. Now, usually I don't color in, but I'm coloring in here to see if it's a little too dark. I think it might be. I can't see my ink lines that much, so let's go ahead and lighten that up just a touch. Let's go ahead and pop that in there. There, that's more like it. And we'll just, again, just drawing in basic trap lines. And eventually this is going to blend into the background. The hair is going to be like this big dark mass that that kind of swirls around the figures. I haven't really drawn that in. I don't really need to. That's going to be mostly color. I have an idea of what I want this thing to look like. And that's why I know, because I've done some preliminary sketches and stuff, I know what this is going to look like before I start. I have an idea of what I want it to look like. I actually have some roughed out color sketches of what I want this to be. But the thing is about that is I tend not to, I'll sketch stuff out and then approximate it when I'm doing it digitally. Yeah, just about everything that I do, even though I work digitally all the time, everything starts out as pencil, colored pencil, and things like that in the sketchbook. I don't leave anything to chance. I don't do anything on the fly, as it were. That's probably about the last time I'm going to try and speak in a hip tone on the fly. Yeah, that's hipness as of what, the 90s probably. So I'm not, yeah, not even going to try. Too much of a dad. All right, so let's drop some color in there and there. And I think that'll work for the rest of the color here. Let's just block in a basic outline of this hair here. And I'm going to be drawing out some of the hair from the head, pulling it out and make it a little more wispy and stuff out this way and all that. That's one of the reasons too why the ink lines that I left in, I could probably take some of those out eventually. You'll notice too that the ink lines are very simple. Okay, with the pencils, um, there's a lot more shading going on. That's gonna come up when I start doing the color. Okay, that's when I'm gonna add the shadows when I'm doing the color. Not before then. So let's go back here. Oh, and if you want to see the pencils, actually what I can do is set the background color here to, let's see, let's set that on multiply. So if you set on multiply, then you can see that you can see through the color. Now, this right here, this color, that's on normal. If I set that on multiply, see it kind of messes it up. So I don't want to do that. See it scrolling through there. All right. I think I'll leave that on multiply for now. Let's see. In the background figure color, we'll just leave on normal. Okay. Anyway, back to this. You can always play around with your you can always play around with your blending settings. And you get some really cool stuff sometimes. Um, some really cool effects. There we go. Now, what I'm probably going to wind up doing, I got a horizon line right about in here somewhere. And I need this to be a little bit darker through here. So what I'm going to do, I think, is have the hair color only come down to about here. I'll follow this pencil line along here, something like that. And actually, let's just make a straight line. I'm going to hold on my pencil. Hold on my pencil tool and just hold on my shift key so I make a straight line right about to there. That should do it. And if I don't have any holes here, I should be able to just hit that. All right. There's the basic color right there for that part of the hair. Let's go ahead and I'm going to use just actual a darker color here. Oops. You know what? I forgot that little earring interior. So there's that. And while we're at it, there's a little bit of the beard that didn't get filled in. Something like that. I'm going to want to put in some lighter streaks and stuff later on too. Now, one thing you're going to notice too is that the figures here look fairly simple, okay, with the ink lines, and that's a conscious decision. Okay, what I'm trying to do here is a more cartoony, stylized sort of thing, almost akin to the kind of cartoons I used to watch when I was a kid. You know, Johnny Quest and that sort of thing. So let's go ahead and put in some trap lines there. Follow along this line of the beard. Just kind of color that in. About where this horizon line is, I'm going to have that be a ground plane. So let's just fill that in. No, don't like that. Don't like that, but you know, that should be fine for now. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and we're going to be doing a lot of blending to make this thing work. So let's just make a line across here and let's take it right up to about in here somewhere. I'll be blending this in later on. Like I said, this is just the color blocking. So that's going to be the black there. Okay, and then we'll be blending in some more of this purple through here, and this is going to blend into the background. Okay, now I'm going to start blocking in color for the foreground figures. Now, you notice the problem that we have here is we've got some color that is blocking the view of what we need to do. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn these colors off for now, the visibility off, and that'll allow me to start blocking in color for these guys. Okay, so let's go ahead and consider on background inks right here. What we want to do is click on this layer, background inks, and click another one. This is going to be foreground. Figure color. Okay. All right, and then we need to start doing a little bit of work here. Let's just take a quick look here, see what I've got. Okay, that was from a previous project. I think that should be about right. Okay, so I'm going to start blocking in the color of the figures. I'm going to start with this character's shirt. Now you might wonder, okay, well, why are you putting color in? You know, why aren't you just coloring over top? Well, the thing is, when you're blocking in color, you can have your ink lines will cover up any imperfections in your color blocks. That's one of the nice things about it. So we're just going to start making some trap lines along the edges here. Just following the contours here. If it's not perfect, that's okay. So we can always clean it up a little bit later. Now let's see, I am at 100%. So there, okay. You'll notice too that the color is going to be covering up the pencil work. So I'm going to have to adjust the, I'm going to have to change the blending on this layer too, so I can see the pencil work, because I will need that for shading. I want to follow these lines pretty closely. This I've got this pretty well figured out. This is going to be sort of a green through here, a lot of a darker green. But this over here, this is going to be reflected light. So that's probably going to be kind of a pastel yellow or a white, depending on what tint I decide to give this thing. In my sketches, it was more of a white, but I think that yellow might work better. All right, so let's drop in some color there. You can see it's just kind of, you know, just very plain. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and change that blending right now from normal to multiply so we can see through it better. And then we'll do the rest of this tunic here. Again, your inks will cover up the imperfections of your pencil lines, and eventually, if you have some imperfections, you can always blend those a little bit later with a mixer brush. Now I could just go right over this whole thing and then add the color of the belt later, but I don't usually do that. I like to cut color as I go and not have stuff overlap too much. You know, but that's just a preference. All right. We're almost at a half an hour right now, so I'm going to pause this right now. Pause the filming while I go ahead and continue blocking in the foreground figure color. Okay. And then I'll put this back on once the color is all blocked in. Okay. So right now we have, yeah, looks like that, which is pretty crazy. But when I turn this, when I record again in a few minutes, you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay. Hang on. Okay, now to pick up where I left off. You can see here I got most of the color blocked in. It's still pretty basic. Okay, I've got a number of layers here that I've added, even like one for this ground layer here. What I am probably going to do fairly soon is merge these together. Okay, if I merge these layers together, then I can change the blending for the entire thing and see my lines again. Because the problem that I'm running into right now, which you would too if you're doing the same thing, is that because they are layered, if you have the blending set, on multiply, uh, so you can see through the thing, then the whole thing gets kind of, you can't really see what you're doing. So what I need to do is have everything set on normal, and then blend these, then combine these together. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna do. Um, it's I actually, what I need to do is also move my inks up a little bit. My background inks I need to bring up here, and you just move these things around very easily. That way my ink layers are separate from the different paint layers. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hold on my shift key, and while this, let's see, that's the foreground layer, that's the foremost layer right there of color. Let's see, foreground color. Let's see, let's move that there. Okay, now we've got inks, background inks. Okay, and so let's grab this. And what you want to do is go up to Layer and Merge Layers, or you can hit Control E. Okay. All right, now all of the color is on one layer, and I can start going in and painting and doing what I want. Okay. This is gonna be blended in through here. I'm gonna blend these together, so that's gonna be all nice and cool looking. Right now, while we're at it, let's go ahead and set this on multiply so we can see what it is that we want to do. Okay. You'll also notice that I did change the tint back here a little bit. Okay. In the background color, and yeah, it's gonna take a little bit of doing, but we're ready to start. In the next video, I'll start going in and adding all the shading and the highlights and all that to really make this thing pop. Okay, I'll talk to you guys later then.